I asked people in their 70s and 80s one simple question. If you could go back in time, what is the one mistake you would undo? I expected many different answers. Money, career, missed opportunities. But almost every single person said the same thing. And what shocked me wasn't the answer itself. It was when they realized it. They didn't see it in their 20s or their 40s. They saw it when it was already too late to change. Today I want to share that one regret. Not to scare you, but so you don't have to carry it into old age like they did. There's a quiet moment that comes to many people late in life. It usually happens when the house is silent, when the phone doesn't ring as often, when memories become louder than plans. That's when the truth arrives. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with a heavy stillness that's impossible to ignore. Many elders describe it the same way. A realization that creeps in slowly and then stays forever. One man told me, "I thought I had more time." That sentence alone explains everything. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Arthur. Arthur was in his early 80s when I spoke to him. Sharp mind, calm voice. A life that looked successful from the outside. He had worked hard, provided for his family, did what he believed was right, but when I asked him that same question, what would you undo? He didn't answer right away. He stared at the floor for a long time. Then he said quietly, "I postponed my life." Not his job, not his responsibilities, his life. He believed that one day when things slowed down, he would reconnect, rest, enjoy, be present. But life doesn't slow down the way we expect it to. It simply ends chapters. This is the part no one warns us about. When you're young, time feels endless. You believe there will always be another chance, another call, another visit, another conversation. So you delay the important things. You tell yourself, "I'll do it later. I'll make time when things are easier. I'll say it next time." But elders will tell you something painful. Later is not guaranteed, and next time often never comes. I spoke to a woman in her late 70s. She lived alone in a small apartment filled with photographs, children smiling, family gatherings, moments frozen in time. She told me her regret wasn't something dramatic. It was simple. "I was always busy," she said. "Busy providing, busy worrying, busy planning." She paused, and I forgot to just be there. She wasn't cruel, she wasn't neglectful, she was just distracted by life. And that's the danger. This regret doesn't come from bad intentions. It comes from good people choosing the wrong priorities over and over again. Across dozens of conversations, the same truth kept repeating. Not once did someone say, "I wish I worked more. I wish I earned more money. I wish to impress more people." Instead, they said things like, "I wish I had listened more. I wish I had spent more time with my family. I wish I had said how I really felt. I wish I hadn't assumed there would be more time." This is the one regret elders say you must avoid. Not living presently, not valuing relationships while they were still alive and close. What makes this regret especially painful is that it's invisible while it's happening. No alarm goes off, no warning sign appears. Life just keeps moving. Children grow up, parents grow older, friends drift away, and one day you look around and realize you were there, but not really present. Elders don't regret loving too much. They regret being emotionally unavailable when love was right in front of them. Here's the hardest truth they shared with me. You don't miss people the most when they leave. You miss them when you realize how distracted you were when they stayed. That realization doesn't come early. It comes when silence replaces noise, when there are no do-overs. This isn't about guilt, and it's not about fear. It's about awareness now while you still have time. Because the elders who shared this regret didn't fail. They simply didn't know. You do, and that knowledge is a gift if you use it. Before we continue, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about the people who matter most in your life right now. Ask yourself honestly, are you truly present with them, or are you always waiting for later? Because later is where regret lives. Most people don't realize they're making this mistake while they're making it. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a mistake at the moment. It feels like responsibility. It feels like ambition. It feels like doing what you're supposed to do. Elders often say the same thing. If someone had warned me earlier, I would have lived differently. But no one warns you because from the outside, everything looks fine. You're working, you're providing, you're staying busy, and being busy feels productive. One man in his mid-70s explained it like this. When you're young, life is loud. Deadlines, noise, expectations. There's no room for reflection. Only later, when the noise fades, do you finally hear the truth. And by then, it echoes too loudly to ignore. This regret arrives late because life distracts you perfectly. Modern life is especially good at stealing presence. We live in a world of constant alerts, messages that never stop, screens that demand attention. Even when we're with people we love, our minds are somewhere else. The elders didn't call it distraction, they called it being absent while present, sitting at the same table, sharing the same room, but never truly connecting. That's how this regret quietly grows. Let me share another story. A retired teacher in her early 80s told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I spent my whole life preparing for the future, and then one day the future arrived and I realized I had missed the present." She didn't lack memories, she lacked moments she truly lived in. There's a difference. Memories can exist without presence, but fulfillment cannot. This regret doesn't come from a single decision. It's built slowly. One missed dinner becomes a habit. One delayed conversation becomes silent. One ignored moment becomes distance. And distance once created is hard to undo. Elders often say the pain isn't just what they lost. It's knowing they had the chance to choose differently every single day. Here's the pattern they all describe. First, you postpone. Then you normalize postponing. Eventually, you forget what you were postponing in the first place, until life forces you to remember. An illness, a funeral, a quiet house, that's when the realization hits. Not with anger, but with deep regret. One elder told me, "I was always waiting for a milestone. When the kids grew up, when work slowed down, when I retire." He smiled sadly and said, "Those milestones came and went, and presence never returned on its own." This is where many people misunderstand regret. They think regret comes from failure, but elders say regret comes from delay. Delaying love, delaying attention, delaying connection, because delay feels safe. It feels reasonable, but time doesn't care about reason. Another woman said something heartbreaking. "I didn't lose my family suddenly. I lost them slowly, through missed conversations, through emotional distance, through always being too busy." And slow loss hurts the most, because you don't realize it's happening until it's complete. Here's the uncomfortable truth elders wish they had faced earlier. No one remembers how busy you were. They remember how you made them feel, not your schedule, not your stress, your presence, or your absence. This is why the regret shows up so late, because life rewards busyness early on, but punishes absence later. When people needed you most, they wanted you, not your effort. And effort without presence feels empty. So how do you know if you're heading toward this regret right now? Elders say there are warning signs. You're always exhausted but rarely fulfilled. Conversations feel rushed or shallow. You think about the future more than you experience the present. You assume important people will always be there. These signs are subtle, but they matter, because regret isn't loud at first. It whispers. One man said something powerful. "I thought love would wait for me. It didn't." Love requires presence, attention, time, and time. Once gone, never returns. This part is difficult to hear but important. You don't need more time. You need different priorities. Elders say they didn't lack hours in the day. They lacked awareness. They believed they were doing the right thing until the right thing revealed itself too late. Before we move forward, I want you to reflect again, not with guilt, with honesty. If your life continued exactly as it is now, what would your future self regret? Because that future self is trying to warn you right now. When elders talk about the end of life, they don't speak about achievements. They speak about moments. Moments that felt real. Moments where they were fully present. Moments where they felt connected to someone else. Everything else fades. Titles lose meaning. Possessions become objects. Busy years blur together. But moments of connection remain sharp. Sometimes painfully sharp. One elder said something that stopped me cold. In the end, life isn't measured in years. It's measured in people. Who showed up, who stayed, who truly knew you, and who you truly knew. This is where many people get confused. They think avoiding regret means making drastic changes, quitting jobs, moving away, rebuilding life from scratch. Elders say that's not necessary. What they regret isn't their circumstances. It's how they showed up inside those circumstances. A grandfather in his late 70s told me, "I was home every night, but I wasn't there. Physically present, emotionally distant." He said his children remember him as tired, quiet, always preoccupied, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know presence was what mattered most. This regret cuts deep because it's invisible in the moment. You can love someone deeply and still fail to be present with them. Love without attention slowly feels like neglect. The elders didn't regret loving too little. They regretted expressing it too rarely. Here's the shift elders say changes everything. Stop measuring your life by productivity. Start measuring it by connection. Connection doesn't require hours, it requires awareness. 10 fully present minutes matter more than 3 distracted hours. One woman shared a small story that meant everything to her. She remembered one afternoon when she sat with her daughter on the floor and truly listened to a story she had already heard many times. She said, "That moment still visits me. Not birthdays, not holidays. One quiet moment of presence." This is what elders wish they understood earlier. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be available, emotionally available, mentally available. People don't want perfection. They want sincerity. Elders say the biggest shift they wish they made was this: saying "I love you" more often, listening without interrupting, being curious instead of distracted, choosing people over pressure. These choices don't feel urgent. That's why they're easy to ignore, but they're the ones that shape your future memories. One man said something unforgettable. "I spent my life preparing for important moments and missed the ordinary ones. But ordinary moments are the important ones. They're where life actually happens." Here's another truth elders share. Presence today prevents regret tomorrow. Not success, not recognition. Presence. When you're present, you don't need to remember later, because you actually lived it. So how do you begin changing this now? Elders suggest starting small. Very small. Look people in the eyes when they speak. Put the phone down during conversation. Ask questions and wait for the answer. Create small rituals. Meals, walks, quiet time. These aren't habits, they're signals. Signals that say you matter. One woman told me her biggest comfort in old age was knowing she had said everything she needed to say. No unsent words, no unspoken love. That kind of peace doesn't come from luck. It comes from presence. Here's the emotional truth elders want you to hear. You will never regret being present, but you will regret not being there when it mattered. Before we move to the final part, take a moment to think about this. If someone you love remembered you 10 years from now, what would they remember most? Your busyness or your presence? When elders talk about regret, they don't speak with anger. They speak with clarity. A calm, heavy clarity that only comes after everything else has fallen away. They don't blame anyone. They don't blame life. They simply wish they had known sooner. One man in his late 80s told me, "If I could leave one message behind, it would be this: don't wait to live." He didn't mean chasing excitement. He meant showing up, fully, honestly, before life makes that choice for you. Many elders say the hardest part isn't aging. It's remembering all the moments they rushed through thinking they were on their way to something more important, only to realize later, those moments were the important thing. There's a quiet sadness in knowing that the people who needed you most often needed you in small, ordinary ways. A conversation without distraction, a moment of attention, a feeling of being truly seen. These things don't demand much, but they demand presence. Elders say regret doesn't come all at once. It arrives gently, in empty rooms, in unanswered phones, in memories that suddenly feel unfinished. That's when they realize they were always planning to be present later. Later never came. But here's the difference between you and them. You are hearing this now, while conversations are still possible, while time can still be redirected, while small choices can still change the ending. This isn't about perfection, it's about intention. Elders don't ask you to abandon your responsibilities. They ask you to stop letting them replace your life. Work will always ask for more. Distractions will always exist. But people won't always be there. One woman summed it up perfectly. She said, "In the end, all I wanted was more time with the people I loved. And I had that time. I just didn't realize how precious it was." That realization came too late for her. It doesn't have to be for you. This is the one regret elders say you must avoid. Not being present, not choosing connection when it mattered most. Everything else finds a way to fade, but regret stays. So let this be your quiet reminder. Call the person you've been postponing. Listen without rushing. Say the words you assume are understood. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because one day the noise will fade, and what remains will be the moments you truly lived. Make sure those moments are full. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone you care about. Sometimes a reminder at the right time can change an entire life. Thank you for listening.